Welcome back. After battering the Carolinas with wind and storm surge, the colossal rainfall dumped by Hurricane Florence is pushing rivers beyond their banks and flooding hundreds of square miles. Thousands of residents remain in shelters. 44 Americans are dead in a disaster which may eclipse Katrina and Harvey as the most costly in U.S. history, and it's far from over. While our hearts go out to those suffering, I think it's appropriate to ask the question, does anybody still believe climate change is not real? Bill King?
So there's no question that the climate's warming up, but I think it's dangerous to attribute these storms to climate change. We've been having storms forever, and the data shows that the storms are getting a little more frequent and a little worse, but it's not nearly as much as people try to imply from climate change. The real problem is that we're building more and more things in harm's way. And so we all love to live on the coast, and so we all rush to the coast, and we build beach houses, and we build cities in areas that are very vulnerable, and we're not doing the infrastructure spending that we need to protect that investment. And you know, there's no better example of it than Houston, Texas. I mean, we are extremely vulnerable to a major storm hitting Freeport. We've known that ever since Ike. We've just barely dodged the bullet on that. And 10 years after Ike, we've done absolutely nothing on this issue. Go read Bill Merrill's op-ed in today's Houston Chronicle. 10 years after Ike, we still haven't done anything.
Well, the bulk of the damage in Harvey and in this storm seems to be from the colossal rainstorms that are causing all the flooding. Anybody want to jump in here? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, first I got to agree with Bill. I think the fact is, yes, the climate is changing. Climate changes all the time. We had an ice age. We've had other, the climate changes on this planet. Did man cause that change? And more directly, did the United States cause that change when you have other countries like China and India polluting like crazy? We don't know, and what can we do about it? We don't know the answer to that. What we do know is there are things you can do to protect places, and we need to, as a society, decide that if we're going to live in those kind of areas, we're going to protect that. This storm was very similar to Harvey in one respect, in that it was moving at about 3 to 4 miles an hour. That allows for a massive rainfall accumulation. And when you see it, particularly in an area with rolling hills like the Carolinas, as opposed to the flatlands of the Texas coastal plain, that water's moving, and that water's moving fast, and it's going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to take a lot of lives.
Tony, last word on this.
I know that Donald Trump only believes facts that come out of Trump University, but all you need to know is that forget the global scale. You go to Manchester, a barrio here in the Latino community, they have to breathe in gunk. They've got higher incidence of cancer. I tell you what, I don't want to argue about climate change because I know it's the fact because of the university studies, but at the end of the day, Latinos are dying at a higher rate because of the smog that the petrochemical company is putting out there and profiting from. It's disgusting.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Going to talk about climate change again. Up next, she's a distinguished member of the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. But these days, Dana Steele has her eyes set on entering a different hall, the halls of Congress. This morning, the Democratic candidate for CD 36 takes our hot seat after the break.